I'm going to describe another approach to study skills today, this time focusing on dual coding. And what we're paying attention to is both the contribution of words and images and how those can come together to support our learning. So what we're going to do is think about some of the ideas that you're learning in class and find visuals for them. And then look over the visuals and compare those to the words. So for example, here is a visual for our definition of classical conditioning. Is this good? Does this help us to understand it better or not? And what can we do that might tweak that a little bit more? So next, what we're going to do is explain those visuals in our own words. So for example, I'm going to look at this image and say, initially, the unconditioned stimulus, the food, causes salivation or an unconditioned response right away. Whereas the neutral response or neutral stimulus, the whistle, creates no response. As a result of conditioning, these two are paired, the food and the whistle, and the dog begins to salivate continues to salivate to the food. After conditioning, the dog will salivate to the stimulus by itself. Now, what you're going to do is take the concepts you're trying to learn and draw visuals to go along with them and make sure that those fit together. So for example, you might draw this chart, and in that chart, you might be thinking about the phases. Phase one, before conditioning, where the meat powder and tone are separated. Phase two, where they're connected. And phase three, where the meat powder is removed, but the tone or the whistle is the only thing, that we're seeing. Now, you want to do it multiple different ways. The more ways you do it, the better you're going to understand it. And that certainly explains how I'm approaching things in class, that I rarely do things one and only one way. So for example, you might draw yourself a figure or a table like this. How are classical conditioning and operant conditioning similar to each other? You might find cartoons like this and think about, is this a good description of classical conditioning? Or maybe this is better for operant conditioning. And then it's actually much better for classical conditioning. And any of us who've ever had a dog or a cat who's ever been fed wet food, they pretty quickly make that connection. Then what you're going to want to do is check what you know by drawing what you know from memory. The ideas described here were pulled together by a number of different psychologists and illustrators as a result of funding or grant funding from Association for Psychological Science, for whom I'm very grateful for them sharing this. Thank you. Bye-bye.